Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have Easter DIYs for you. We're going to do 3 coastal farmhouse DIYs using supplies from the Dollar Tree. I did this adorable Easter egg. I have a little blue chick for Easter. And I have an adorable little burlap bunny. So let's get started. I'll show you how I put all of these DIYs together. I'm going to use one of these black chalkboards for all 3 of our DIYs today. They're my favorite Dollar Tree sign. They're thick, they don't really bend much, and they're a nice size. So I'm just going to cut off the hanger on the top, and we can always reuse that. And we're going to be covering the top there that has all of the chalkboard writing on there, so no need to paint. We're going to use this removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree. This pattern, the blue with the palm leaf, you've probably seen me use it before. It's my absolute favorite. It's so tropical and really goes with my decor. And I'm just going to trim off some of the excess. It's a little larger than it needs to be, but I am just going to peel off a part and start on one end and start attaching that to our sign so I don't get any like air bubbles or anything like that. And to make sure, I just scrape it a little bit with one of these little scrapers from the Dollar Tree. If you can't find the removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree, you could always paint it a nice soft blue color and get pretty close to the same effect. Then I'm just going to use my rough sanding block from the Dollar Tree and scrape all 4 sides until you can see the black chalkboard show through, and it peels right off with a perfect cut. Could not be an easier way to start a DIY sign. I love using this removable wallpaper. So here's our 4th side. I'm going to touch up all the corners to make sure they're rounded as well, and this part of the sign is ready to go. Okay, now it's time to make the egg. So I'm going to use one of these white wood egg signs from the Dollar Tree. Doesn't matter that it's white. I like that it's plain wood, and I can cover this however I would like. So what I want to use is one of these little Easter bags from the Dollar Tree. This is the tan one, and it reminds me of like a braided seagrass. So I think that's really going to give me a coastal feel. It does have a flower on there, but I'm just going to work around that. And you can see it covers about half of the egg. So I'm just going to cut it around in half to give me a piece of this seagrass fabric. And we can start putting this together. Now, the only thing that caused me problems on this, as you can see, it's not quite straight there on the top. So when I go in here and measure to cover the top part, they don't line up real well. I do find a way to fix that, and I will just have a seam there, but that's okay because we are going to decorate our Easter egg. So just kind of cutting that off. That's when I kind of realized that, see how the one kind of arches there at the top? So I'm just going to go in and cut off the bottom of the bag, and then I'm going to go in and trim off the top row to see if that will straighten it up a little bit. And I got a whole bunch of these bags. You could also use the hats, but I find that the bags are a little bit easier to work with from the Dollar Tree because they're already flat. So I'm going to do a really thick layer of Mod Podge on the bottom half of the egg, and so that we can glue down our first piece of our faux seagrass. And really try to make sure that it's attached all over the side. And I'm trimming up the top part, and I was concerned there that it didn't really match up, and I didn't really think I was going to have quite enough. I probably would have, but what I'm going to do is go ahead and start cutting up another bag and seeing if I can cut it a little different here, and whether I can get this to line up. So what I do is kind of cut it like this, so I have like a bigger piece because I didn't think it was going to be quite wide enough. And then cut off the rows I don't need there that have the flower on them. And then just seeing if I can get that. I didn't know if I did it like the same direction, if I could get it to line up. Not really. I try it upside down. I still have the same problem, but then I just realized I'm just going to have to kind of work with it. I want full coverage, so I'll just slightly overlap it a little bit when I glue it down, and then I'll just cut kind of like an arch so that it'll match up, because I don't really want like 2 layers of the seagrass. I think it will like kind of stick out. So I'm just kind of cutting this top one so that it will fit, and then we can glue that part of the seagrass down as well. And that is much better. So another really thick coat of that Mod Podge. And I'm also going to go over the top of it to make sure that this is really attached. I don't want this to fall apart on me. So I'm going to glue that part down, kind of cut off some of the excess fabric there on the side. It still has excess fabric all around, but I'm trying to make sure that it's good and stuck before I go any further. I think that I'm going to go over it with another really thick coat, kind of working sideways to kind of push that down in there and really get that attached, because it was a little iffy on whether it was glued down well. So I'm just going to go over the whole thing with a really thick coat of that matte Mod Podge as well. And I love those little containers from the Dollar Tree because they're so easy that you don't have to worry about them getting old or anything like that. And you can just squeeze them on your projects. So, and now that I have it all covered, I am going to just go around my egg with some fabric scissors and trim off that excess material. And it gives me this adorable little seagrass egg. I love it. Now, my original sign that we covered in the wallpaper, I'm just going to use one of those little Cricut tools from the Dollar Tree and just re-poke my holes. And then we can attach our egg to our little tropical sign. And yes, you can see the seam on the egg, but we're going to decorate it, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. So we're just going to glue this down with a whole bunch of hot glue and just kind of make sure that it is centered. And you got to make sure your signs are flat so you'll have really good adhesion. If they're not, you can always bend them a little bit. But once you stack Dollar Tree signs like this, you're going to get a way more substantial product. And this is how I thought we could cover the seam. We can use some of those little starfish that I get on Amazon. I'll post a link. I love these. I probably need to order more. And kind of line those up all the way down and glue those down, and you'll never know that there was like a little seam there. And I really wanted to decorate our Easter egg anyway. And I thought this kind of reminded me of like a star pattern or flower pattern that you would see on a decorated egg. So I think it's perfect. I try to pick out like the ones that are the flattest when I am attached to a sign like this, but just trying to arrange them the best way that I think they'll fit. Then I thought it needed more decorations on the top and the bottom. But first, I'm going to just reattach my little hanger. I like to do it with the knots in the front. I find it hangs flatter against the wall. And I also like to shorten these a little bit from the original. And then to decorate, I thought a rope. So I'm just going to use a scrap piece of rope from the Dollar Tree. This is kind of the thinner brown nautical rope. And all I'm doing is attaching it with hot glue in a little swirly swirl pattern. And this really reminds me of an Easter egg. And it brings in another little coastal touch with that brown rope. So I just cut that off to size and just keep gluing that in that pattern. I kind of picked out 2 rows of the seagrass to try to stay on those 2 rows. So I would get like equal height all the way along that. And I love that, so I'm going to go ahead and do that on the bottom as well. Another little squiggly rope line, just working one piece at a time. And this hot glue dries so quickly that you can just keep moving. And I think this might be my favorite DIY I did today. It's so cute. I have it hanging in my entryway, and it really makes me smile. So we're going to finish off this last one, cut it on the edge and glue that down. And such an easy way to decorate our little coastal Easter egg. Now, the only thing I thought it needed an expo for a finishing touch. So I'm going to use some of this brown burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off a little piece, and then I like to cut it in half so it's not quite so thick, and make a simple X. This is some of that blue flower ribbon from the Easter section. I thought this was really pretty, and that will give me a little pop of color. And then I'm going to use some of this thinner burlap ribbon with the zigzag pattern. And I love doing an expo with at least 3 bows, or 3 different kinds of ribbon. And I'm just going to cinch that off with a zip tie. Expos are my kind of bow because they are so simple and easy. And I cut this one a little long on purpose because I wanted to be able to trim it to size, and that's what I do. I'm not going to worry about dovetailing or anything like that. Just kind of trimming it until I think it's going to look nice. And we're going to put this on the top of our Easter egg sign right about here with a little bit of hot glue. Then the only thing I want to cover up that little zip tie piece. And so what we're going to use for that is a little wood bunny from the Dollar Tree. I love these, they're so cute. And I'm just going to attach that with a little bit of hot glue, and that will cover that up perfectly and give me a little final Easter touch to this DIY sign. I really hope you're enjoying these DIYs today. If you are, don't forget to hit the like button. And at the end of the video, you can comment your favorite project below. I would really like to know, and I love hearing from all of my Crafty Beach bums. Okay, so I attach it with hot glue, and then I realized I wanted to stain it. So I should have done this first, but I'm just going to use a little makeup sponge and some antique wax by Waverly and very carefully stain that little bunny. I think it goes together better with the brown ropes and the burlaps of the project, and just wiping off the excess with a paper towel. And this DIY is ready to go. I love it. This is how it looks hanging in my house. You can see my shamrock DIY over there to the left, and it turned out so cute. Love it. Okay, here we go. Our next DIY, I want to do a blue pebbly Easter chick. So again, we're going to start off with one of these black chalkboards from the Dollar Tree. I always have a stash of 10 of these because I love them, but they're usually pretty available in all of my Dollar Trees. And we're going to use the removable wallpaper again. This time we're using the white wood slat board. I think this really gives you a farmhouse or a coastal touch, and I thought these would be really this would be really nice for the other 2 sides, the little chick and the little bunny. So again, just using my rough sanding block, and I'm going to get a perfect cut all the way around. You could always paint this white if you don't have the wallpaper, and draw on the lines with a ruler and a marker, and then you could distress it. It's going to give you the same look, but oh my goodness, this way is so much easier. So I got that sign done. I'm kind of bending it, making sure it is nice and flat, and it's time to make our little Easter chick. I'm going to cover it with these adorable blue colored pebbles from the Dollar Tree. I love that color. It's very beachy. It goes with my house, but they are rocks. So I'm going to need a strong glue. Whenever I attach pebbles or something to stuff, I love to use this tacky glue from the Dollar Tree. It's very thick and very strong. So I'm doing just a super thick coat all over our little Easter chick. And I wanted to do all of these, the egg, the chick, the bunny, with all different kind of textures, and I love how that turned out. And I am just going to sprinkle all over our tacky glue with the pebbles, just straight out of the bag, kind of smoothing that out as I go. I cover most of the body, and then I'm like, I'm going to have like rocks everywhere. I really need to find something to put under it. So I'm just going to use one of these little cutting boards from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go around and do all the edges while that tacky glue is still nice and wet. Just kind of carefully patting that down, making sure that there's good coverage all around the edges. And then what I like to do when I'm working with this or sand or anything else is once I glue it down, I like to go over it with more glue. So I'm going to use some of this spray glue that I get at the Dollar Tree. It's a multi-purpose. I love this stuff. You don't get a whole lot in a bottle. I think I used the whole can today on this. But I'm going to spray all over to give me another coat of glue to help attach those little blue pebbles to our little Easter chick. And it's really wet, so I went in and dried it for quite a while with my heat gun. Normally, I would like these projects to sit overnight, but I really kind of needed to get this video out for you guys today. And so I just dried it until it was pretty good and dry. Now I'm just going around the edges with some more tacky glue and covering up any of the bare spots where I don't think there's enough pebbles. Just with pebbles that are like left over there on my cutting board. And making sure that I have really good coverage. I want the shape of the chick to be really apparent. And so I want it to have complete coverage. And then I go over it again with more of that spray adhesive and dry it. And I actually ended up doing the spray adhesive 3 times on this. And now this step is kind of tedious. I kind of just went around and broke off all the pebbles that were kind of attached to the side of the wood, because those are going to kind of get in my way. And if I could push them up on the sign, I did. If not, I just kind of pushed them down onto my mat. And just cleaning up all of my edges of my little blue Easter chick. And I really love how this Easter chick turned out. It's so cute and so different. Okay, I'm just going to punch those holes in our back sign, our little chalkboard again. Going to reattach that same hanger. Knots in the front, and I just shorten it just a little bit. If you can't get it through, you can just cut it and kind of twist it. Usually you can reattach these. And it's one less supply you'll need. Okay, so we are ready to put this guy together. I have been drying this Easter chick, and I'm going to attach it with hot glue. I don't really want to turn it upside down yet because I'm not totally sure they're all attached. So I kind of like sneak the hot glue underneath. And then I'm carefully trying to push down on that top sign to make sure that it is nice and flat and stuck. Now I kind of have this area up in the corner that doesn't really have anything, and I wanted to fill it with something. So I thought a sand dollar would be really cute, but it kind of needs a background. So I'm going to use the rest of that Easter bag that we had to give a little seagrass accent to this, which will kind of tie this into our first DIY, our little seagrass egg. So I'm just going to cut a little square. That would be a perfect background for our sand dollar. And I get those sand dollars on Amazon as well. I always post a link below to all of those items that I get on Amazon so that you can get them too. Just going to attach that with hot glue and then hot glue on our little sand dollar. And I thought that gave another coastal touch to this DIY project and kind of filled in that dead spot of the sign. Now I want to give it a little bit more of an outline. So I thought I would just go around the whole thing with twine. And this is that thicker twine that comes in the big roll from Walmart. Lasts forever. And I'm just going to do simply a small bead of hot glue all the way around it. And I'm using that weeding tool so I don't really burn myself, and getting that really tight up against the rocks This is going to give me another like coastal texture to the DIY, but it's also going to help outline the chick and make it more distinct what it is, that it's a little chick hanging on my wall. And so I'm just carefully going around the whole thing. Like some parts of the chick like hang off the sides, like the beak and the tail, but that's okay because you can just glue it to the sign itself. And we're almost done. And I think this gave it a little pop out factor there on the sign. Really makes it look like a chick. Now I wanted to make an expo for this sign as well. So again, I'm just using the burlap from the Dollar Tree. I cut it in half and look how pretty this Happy Easter ribbon is I got from the Dollar Tree. And then I thought just some of this like ivory lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree would be fun to kind of put in the middle of our expo. I want to do that colorful blue on top. And we're just going to cinch this with a zip tie. And cut off the excess. Kind of arrange this and trim it so it'll fit nicely there on the top of our sign. And then I'm going to want to cover up the little zip tie part. So on this one, I thought I would use one of these wooden chicks from the Dollar Tree. Again, I'm going to stain it with the Antique Wax by Waverly, just using a little makeup sponge. Okay, it's time to put this together. I'm going to kind of do the bunny and the chick expos like in the middle, just for something different. I'm going to hang the bunny and the chick together with the egg is going to be off to the side on another part of the wall. So I'm just kind of seeing if that was going to work, and I'm going to attach it here with hot glue. And then hot glue on and that little wooden chick. I love those little wooden things from the Dollar Tree. They're so cute. And such a fun way to add another little touch of Easter to this DIY. There's a little bit of overlap with the sand dollar, but that's okay. Then, for a little bit more fun, I thought I would make it look like he's standing in Easter grass. And so I am going to use just some reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to hot glue on some grass on the bottom. This is going to like give me a little pop of green because I had the green and that tropical background on the first project. And I think it's going to look really Eastery. I like the like reindeer moss look for Easter, the little mossy bunnies and all. And you'll see I'm using a Dollar Tree glue gun. You'll find out why here in a minute. And I'm just going to glue on just a thin row of that reindeer moss to the bottom. And I think that was the perfect final touch for this DIY. And I can't wait to show you here how it looks on my wall. Isn't it adorable? I really love how this little blue pebble Easter chick turned out. So coastal, so farmhouse, so my vibe. Okay, our last DIY today, we're going to do a burlap bunny sign. And I'm going to use just some scrap burlap I had left over from Walmart, a wood bunny, and of course, one of these chalkboards from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to do this sign exactly how I did the Easter chick sign. That way they'll kind of look like a set. And I am just going to use the white wood pattern again and scrape it all down. Go around all four edges with our sanding block, and we'll have another base. The burlap bunny is probably the easiest project that we did today. Super fast and super cute. I wanted to take the opportunity to let you know that we have a Facebook group called Crafty Beach. I will post a link below. And it's all of my viewers of the Crafty Beach channel, my Crafty Beach bums. And I would love for you to join, and I would love to see what you are creating, whether you're creating some of my DIYs, you're creating your own or someone else's. I would love to see it. And so come join us over on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram. Okay, so let's work on our little bunny. I have a very, very scrap piece of this burlap. My last one. I got this by the yard at Walmart. The burlap, super cheap. And I don't really want to use a marker because I don't want it to bleed. So I'm using an ink pen and drawing all around my bunny. It doesn't work well, but it gives me enough of an outline, a pattern, that I can go in and cut the burlap out for this. I thought that it would be easier to cut the burlap before I glue it onto the bunny. And I think that was probably a good idea. It doesn't have to be perfect because, you know, I'm going for that coastal farmhouse vibe. So if I cut it too short and you see some of the white bunny behind it, that's okay because the white bunny is really cute as well. So I'm just using my fabric scissors and carefully going around, trying to fill in any spots where you can't really see the ink. But maybe like a chalk marker or a piece of chalk might have worked a little bit better, but it probably wouldn't have given me that fine line. So an ink pen it was. And just going around all the edges. I want to make this look like a bunny from the behind so that I can give it a tail. So just measuring to make sure that I cut it good and it looks good. So we're going to go ahead and Mod Podge. I'm going to do another thick coat to glue down this burlap, maybe not quite as thick as I did for the seagrass. And then I'm just going to kind of work a section at a time to kind of move it around. So I try to get a maximum coverage as I can with our little burlap. Then I'm going to go over the whole thing again with another coat of the matte Mod Podge so that we can make sure that that burlap is going to be good and attached to our little bunny sign. And for all of these, the egg, the chick, the bunny, I used the white wood signs from the Dollar Tree, but you can use whatever you've got because you can't see that it's white. But these were the only ones I had that were like flat, perfect canvases for a DIY. So I got that on there. I dried it with my heat gun, and I am just going around the edges and trimming up any of the burlap that's like kind of sticking over the sides so that I get that nice little bunny shape that I'm going for. And I'm glad that I cut it first because this was kind of awkward trying to trim this up. And some of the burlap has like little discolorations in it and stuff like that, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. It's going to look rustic. And here we go. The glue's not completely dry because you can still kind of see it, but it's pretty close. So we're going to go ahead and attach our bunny to our sign with some hot glue. And this is when I realized that your girl is out of hot glue. And it was late. I was like, oh my goodness, this is not going to be fun. I went to refill my gun and there was none. Oh no, I can't believe it. And so I glue that on, and then I'm looking for a cute bunny tail, and I thought a sand dollar would be perfect. I kind of wanted to stick out though and be 3D. So I'm just going to glue on one of these little Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree, and then one of these sand dollars that I get on Amazon. This is one of the large ones. I wanted to have a big bunny tail, and that is when I seriously ran out of hot glue. So I'm going to glue that down with a little bit of Fix-All glue and hot glue. Hopefully that stays on there, and it gives me a little 3D bunny tail for a little burlap bunny. And I thought I could get started on the expo. Since I used burlap for the bunny, I didn't really want to use burlap for my expo. So I'm just going to use a spare piece of that, or a scrap piece of that seagrass basket that we used. That way that'll tie in some of that seagrass to this DIY sign as well. And some of that burlap zigzag ribbon and some of the blue Easter ribbon. And I'm going to do this expo exactly the same as I did all the others. Just going to zip tie it, trim it to size. I found that the seagrass did kind of like split a little bit, but that's okay. I really like the texture that it gave me in my little bow. And then just trim our little expo to size. I'm going to attach this to the top of the sign like I did the other. And this one I thought I would decorate with one of the wood carrots because it's a bunny. And so I'm going to stain it with some Antique Wax by Waverly and a little makeup sponge. So we are ready to go to put this DIY sign together. I'm really worried though because your girl has no hot glue at this point. Oh my goodness, I have to get to the store today. I like to buy it at Walmart, that Gorilla Glue. It works really well for wood, but I despise Walmart. But it has to be done. Too late to order from Amazon, I think. And I am going to try to glue it on with some Fix-All. It's never drying. So then I remembered that I bought a hot glue gun from Dollar Tree just as a gag or experiment. And so I dug that out, took it out of the package. I got some of the little mini glue sticks from the Dollar Tree as well. And thank God I did, because this was a lifesaver, because these things, they just weren't drying. And I wanted to finish this project so I could get this video out for you today. So I hot glue the expo to the top, right in the center, and hot glue on the little carrot. Then I thought it was a little plain, so I wanted to decorate it a little bit. So I'm going to use some of these little tiny starfish that I get on Amazon and kind of just do a little star crown for the top of our bunny head, just to provide like another element. But I couldn't decorate a whole lot because it was the back. So I thought about doing like little bunny toes with seashells, but since this is the back, the bunny toes wouldn't be visible, so that didn't really make sense to me. So we're just going to go with a little mini starfish crown. And then we're going to do a little bit of the reindeer moss along the bottom, so it looks like the bunny is sitting in grass, just like we did the little Easter chick. And I think this was the perfect final touch. It's going to add a little bit more interest because I was really afraid that the bunny was really plain. But at the same time, I didn't want it to be tacky or anything. I wanted it to give me that coastal vibe. So thank goodness for this Dollar Tree hot glue gun. I guess it's going to be my extreme backup. I kind of actually bought it too to do like the silicone molds because I thought the Dollar Tree hot glue would be way cheaper to make things with the silicone molds. Just finishing that up and trimming off the excess moss. And we have our third DIY today finished. This is how it looks in my house. It's so cute. I end up hanging it with my chick and some of my starfish collection on my wall. And are you ready for the final reveal? Thank you for watching, everyone. Happy Easter!
Always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the